How could one event have possibly delayed the Reconquista by 400 years? Well, it actually isn't too much of a stretch. In fact, during the 1080s, Alfonso VI's Christian forces were making significant strides towards reconquering the Iberian Peninsula from the Muslims. The culmination of this effort was poised to be achieved before the century's turn, had it not been for the pivotal Battle of Sagrajas in 1086. At this juncture, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin and his contingent of Berber Almoravid warriors traversed the Strait of Gibraltar into Iberia, converging with Christian troops at Sagrajas. The outcome of the battle proved calamitous for Alfonso, who narrowly escaped, preserving his life in the face of a resounding defeat. Following the demise of his father Ferdinand I, Alfonso VI demonstrated remarkable strategic prowess, outmaneuvering his brothers Garcia and Sancho to ascend as the sole leader of Christian Spain. In the pivotal year of 1085, he stood at the gates of Toledo and laid siege to the city. The fall of Toledo proved to be a devastating blow to the Muslims, for the city stood as an imposing defensive bastion, and its loss granted the Christians a formidable vantage point from which they could launch further incursions into the heart of Muslim Spain. This event compelled the Emir of Seville to dispatch a delegation to the Almoravids. Accompanied by a missive to their esteemed Emir, Yusuf Ibn Tashfin, requesting assistance against the Christian advances. The Almoravids, acknowledging the urgency of the plea, quickly mobilized their forces to cross the Strait of Gibraltar. Their arrival in Algeciras preceded a formal reception in Seville, hosted by Emir Al-Mu'tamid, although the austere Almoravids were indifferent to the opulent palaces of Seville. Before the impending confrontation, notable events unfolded. Yusuf, following the sunnah of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, dispatched an ultimatum to Alfonso. He presented him with three choices: converting to Islam, paying the jizya, or the prospect of war. An offer understandably rebuffed by Alfonso. Conversely, historical accounts suggest that Alfonso, in a diplomatic maneuver, sent an emissary to Yusuf ibn Tashfin, proposing a rendezvous on Monday, strategically avoiding Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the respective sanctified days for Muslims, Jews, and Christians. Sensing subterfuge, Yusuf perceived this proposal as a ruse, and promptly readied his forces for a dawn confrontation on Friday. As anticipated, at the break of Fajr prayer, the Christian armies emerged within the vicinity of Sagrajas. As the battle commenced, heavily armored Christian horsemen initiated a robust charge against the Muslim front line, injuring Al-Mu'tamid. Alfonso VI then led a subsequent charge against the Almoravid regiment commanded by Dawood ibn Aisha, exacerbating the strain on Al-Mu'tamid and Abu Dawood's forces. Upon learning of this development, Yusuf responded by dispatching a regiment of elite Almoravid warriors led by Sir ibn Abu Bakr, providing some relief. Undeterred, Alfonso managed to penetrate the Almoravid camp, prompting jubilation among the Christians. Simultaneously, Yusuf ibn Tashfin orchestrated a strategic maneuver, unleashing reserve troops to the cadence of drums. They flanked the advancing Christians with unexpected precision, resulting in a devastating counterattack. The Almoravids surged through the Christian ranks, leaving destruction in their wake, and compelling the surviving Christians to flee towards Alfonso. Observing his forces in retreat, Alfonso issued an order for them to stand their ground and fight. However, confronted with an overwhelmingly disadvantageous position, the Christians were compelled to retreat with fewer than 1,000 men. In the aftermath, one of Yusuf's soldiers tracked Alfonso, inflicting an injury on his calf that would persist throughout his life. In this decisive encounter, the Muslims emerged victorious, as the routed Christians conceded defeat in the face of overwhelming adversity. Following the decisive battle, Yusuf redirected his attention to pressing internal matters in northwest Africa. Before his departure, he entrusted approximately 4,000 soldiers to the emirs of Spain, accompanied by explicit directives urging unity against the common Christian threat. Regrettably, despite the sound counsel Yusuf had imparted in 1087, discord over leadership once again became a prevailing issue among the emirs. Simultaneously, news of Yusuf's return to North Africa reached Alfonso. Sensing an opportune moment to act, he issued a call for assistance from his allied crusader states against the looming Almoravid menace. Responding to the plea, the republics of Genoa and Pisa dispatched a combined armada of 400 ships and nearly 12,000 soldiers. The Crusader forces, upon landing on the eastern coast of the peninsula, initiated raids on the Andalusian Emirates. Faced with this perilous situation, Al-Mu'tamid recognized the imperative course of action. A swift return to North Africa to beseech Yusuf Ibn Tashfin once more for assistance. Committed to his religious duty to protect fellow Muslim brethren, Yusuf graciously accepted the plea and initiated preparations for a renewed campaign. The Almoravids landed in Algeciras, and Yusuf rallied the emirs of different states with a primary objective: to besiege the fort of Aledo and expel the Christians from their occupied territories. On this occasion, the Muslim forces employed the use of catapults to facilitate the siege, unleashing their contents soaring through the air and crashing against the formidable walls of the castle. However, the Christians, anticipating such an assault, had diligently stocked ample supplies to withstand the onslaught. Furthermore, the challenging mountainous terrain posed a formidable obstacle, impeding the adequate mobility of the siege equipment, and thereby endowing the defenders with natural defenses. As the situation grew increasingly dire, not only were the supply lines disrupted, but the encroaching winter heightened the challenges faced by the besieging forces. To exacerbate matters, intelligence reports revealed the approaching troops of Alfonso, compounding the urgency of the circumstances. Faced with the prospect of contending with assaults from two distinct fronts, Yusuf found himself at a critical juncture. After a deliberate period spanning 4 months, he opted to lift the siege and strategically retreat to the city of Lorca. Upon entering the fort, Alfonso discerned the untenable position his troops faced. Recognizing the impracticality of holding the fort for an extended duration, he issued orders for his forces to pillage the fort and subsequently abandon it, relinquishing control to the Muslim adversaries. All things considered, the siege marked a modest triumph for the Muslims, as their primary objective of expelling the Christians from Muslim Andalusia had been achieved. Nevertheless, Yusuf found himself dissatisfied with the outcome. His overarching ambition persisted: to liberate the entirety of Iberia from Christian dominion. Moreover, the 4-month campaign only deepened his conviction that the emirs of Spain were ill-suited for leadership, driven solely by their desire to retain their thrones and lacking a genuine commitment to the welfare of the realm and its citizens. If you're still scratching your head at how these desert Bedouin warriors were able to crush the Spaniards' heavily armored cavalry, you need to go and watch our first video of the Almoravid series, where we explain their birth and growth more in detail. We need your support to continue making animated Islamic history accessible to all. Your contribution, starting at just $1 per month, goes a long way in fueling the passion and dedication we put into our content. Pledge your support by clicking the link on our Patreon page.